Hello, and thank you guys so much for tuning in. So today I have an impromptu show, which I'm so excited about. You may recognize my guest here in the upper right, Tammy. She was on previously, and now we have her joining again with her husband, Dr. Rick Tsai. They are both from East Palestine. Dr. Rick is quite honestly known as a local hero to many people, and we'll get to know why. And they are doing incredible work. So thank you so much for being here, both of you.
Thanks, Joy.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I do want to say,
Absolutely.
can you hear me?
Yes.
A
So,
couple things. Go ahead.
oh no, go ahead.
Unfortunately, life doesn't stop when a chemical bomb goes off in your town. We did a water drive, and I went to go pick up a pallet of water. I'm sorry for not being right there at the meeting at this moment. As I was bringing it home, it started to shift off the trailer, so I had to undo the whole pallet, and so that's why I was late. But on the
Totally
subject
fine.
of being a hero, um, I don't profess to be a hero. I always say that I'm just some selfish guy who does not like what's happening here, and I'm trying to protect myself and my family and the ones I love. And if it helps other people, that's good too. But I really think some of the heroes are the people that are living paycheck to paycheck, and this is something terrible has happened to them, and they see no way out, and they just keep pushing day after day after day and keep struggling to go on.
Absolutely. I was telling Tammy I interviewed Jamie Tuesday night after the town hall. What was your impression of the town hall? Rick, if you want to go first.
Okay, so the town hall. Oh, I was supposed to attend that town hall, but it started at 6, and I thought I might be able to get out of work early, but it didn't happen. Patients kept coming in at the end of the night, so I did not attend that town hall. Although the speaker at that town hall, I did an interview with, and he kind of broke his story before the town hall. That was Scott Smith, the independent tester,
Right.
found 9 dioxins at the in the creeks near the crash area that are not in a control site, and the dioxins that were similar in both creeks, the control where the plume did not affect, and the streams where the plume hung over. The dioxins that are in both, they're in much higher concentrations in the streams that the plume affected. So from what I saw of it, it was a great town meeting.
Mm-hmm.
It was. Tammy, you were there. What was the feeling? What was your take from it?
Well, I thought it was really well directed, and everything was planned out. And the way that it was presented, it was intelligent information. And we had 2 EPA reps there taking notes, and I think they probably walked away from this with a lot of good information about people telling their symptoms, what has happened to them. And I know originally some of those town halls at the beginning, people were very angry and upset and were yelling a lot. But this one, people were very composed, and they had the receipts and they had the facts at hand, and that everything was presented in a way and that was really productive. And I'm hoping that the EPA listens and takes these notes from what they've learned, and maybe they can coordinate and work together with Scott, the independent tester.
Absolutely. And, one of the things that got me, well, I was choked up quite a number of times, but one of the times that really touched me was when their Medicare for All was brought up several times. And, being a Medicare for All organizer and activist, we constantly hear the insane and, statements that, oh, well, red states don't want that and things like that. And that's so not true. So it was so amazing to see that people do want and know they deserve Medicare for all, and they deserve to be taken care of, especially in times like these. Dr. Rick, what are some of the things you're finding as far as insurance and lack thereof? Are there people coming to you just saying, look, I need your help, but I don't have the money?
For the most part, if they are, let's say, a lower income, patients do have some type of Medicaid or Medicare, and those are younger patients as well. You would think, being a doctor for over 30 years, I'm an expert at all insurance, but I do know something has to be done differently, because just people's premiums are just incredibly. Yeah. I don't really know what the answer is, but most people can't even afford healthcare. It's just ridiculous.
Right. Yeah,
it is. And I'm sorry. Go ahead.
With technology, I'll be in with Tammy in just a second.
Go ahead, Tammy.
Oh, I said I have a seat warmed up here for him.
Oh, okay. Aw. One of the things that people were, have so much respect for you for, Dr. Rick, is the fact that you are one of the only people who are writing the vinyl chloride tests. And as a doctor, what are you finding the issue is with these doctors saying they won't write these prescriptions?
Curious. Click out of it. Just turn yours off. Sorry about that. Here he is.
Oh, no problem.
Oh.
So but you're the only doctor around that seems to be.
I just thought it was the right thing to do in the very beginning. And why not? What is the downside? So somebody thanked me for that and thought it, patients, they're thanking me. And I believe I said something like, if I worked in an auto body shop, it's my job to smooth out the dents in your car. And so you don't call that person a hero because he's fixing the dents in your car. As a doctor, this is what we're supposed to do. I don't think it's heroic. So I started doing that in the beginning because it was the right thing to do.
And what reasons do you think these other doctors could possibly have that they are refusing to give patients these tests?
So I do know in the beginning, I have a woman that comes in, and her husband is a medical doctor. And she had talked to me in a visit, and she said she was listening to her husband on a Zoom call with the facility where he works, and they were being coached on how to communicate with patients from East Palestine. She said she was so furious she had to leave the room because they were trying to steer the patient, teach them how to steer the patients away from everything but possible chemical exposure, whether it was burning eyes, upper respiratory problems, burning throat, rashes, headaches. And I want to say something important too. In the very beginning, I said, if no one had symptoms at all, it doesn't make what happened here any less serious, because what you're going to be seeing from these chemicals, the initial exposure is really what causes the acute symptoms. It's what happens after the initial exposure with the changes in your DNA and the chemistry in your body. Those problems take years to show up. And I believe that's also why it's so difficult, why these entities like Norfolk Southern will want to drag these things out, because the further away the patient presents with problems from the initial exposure, the more they're going to say, well, you've eaten wrong for the last 5 years. Right. You've lived with a smoker for the last 5 years. So even if no one had symptoms, I don't don't give this problem, what happened here, this disaster, any less importance. I will say, when Tammy and I were first interviewed, and I honestly don't even know how they heard about us, because we were just contacted one day by one of the national news organizations. So they asked me, Tammy had a scratchy, raspy throat. And they asked me, well, how do you feel, Rick? And this was a week and a half after the derailment. And I said, I feel exactly the same that I had felt prior to the accident, because I felt good. And then we started seeing all the flowery reports on how well the cleanup was going. So that's when I started going into the creeks. And initially, I didn't have a respirator. And I got deathly ill, burning nasal cavity, almost strep throat ×3. Chest cavity was burning. I did not have a solid bowel movement for 5 weeks, constant diarrhea. And I've never had acid reflux in my entire life. I've always been very physically active. We try to eat as organic as possible. Our entire lives, we try to eat healthy. I had what I would call a massive case of an over-amplified case of acid reflux, whereas it was almost like a spray mist bottle. For days, I had like a spray mist shooting from my esophagus into my mouth. It was burning my gums, my tongue, the whole entire inside of my mouth. And I don't take drugs, but I had to get some drugs for about a week. It's since then healed. When I would stay away from the creeks, then I would get better. Those are some nasty, deadly chemicals. So there was definite, these people that are getting sick. It's real.
I was in town yesterday for just 15 minutes, and I came home and my throat was scratchy, and I had some, I don't know how to explain it. It's like a weird, it's not dizzy, but your brain feels a little like underwater for a little while. So it took a few hours for that to pass, but I relate that to the time in town because it happened to me once before.
And that may be because maybe your viewers know this, maybe they do not. I was shocked to hear about a week and a half ago that the burn pit was covered with gravel and untouched. Over 100 days now, a lot of people, they would probably just assume, honestly, as I did, when you wonder how could those chemicals all not burn off when we saw that massive mushroom cloud? But what happened was potentially tens of thousands of gallons of vinyl chloride did not burn off when they directed it into that pit. And when they directed it into the pit, a lot of that soaked into the ground. There are buildings up there. There is a lake up there. The lake, to my knowledge, when I talked with the EPA last week, they were unsure if it was tested. They have not yet tested to see if the chemicals went under the building. The way they answered my question is I believe they think that it went under the buildings, and I do believe that it is under our buildings now as well. So as they're digging up the pit, my point was, they're going to be vaporizing vinyl chloride into the air, and it's been very windy here the last few days.
And warm, and when it's warm,
yeah,
it amplifies. Yeah. And this next week we're having the town carnival that Norfolk Southern is hosting.
I saw that.
And it's going to be in the 80s. And there's still, we saw some of the pictures. There is a lot of contaminated soil and water still at that site. So it's probably going to affect some people if they come into town and do the come to the carnival. Yeah.
Wow. Do you think people are going to go?
Yes. Yeah. And I've been asked about that, and I say it's free will. It's one thing to not be told of the dangers. But if you're told that and the EPA has released that they are digging up the vinyl chloride now, if you're okay with that, and you're okay with your kids going and taking your kids, I'm not going to tell you not to do that. I'm going to tell you what I would do. I wouldn't go near there. But it is free will as long as they know those chemicals are there.
That's
I did
true.
mention to Joy right before we came on that the EPA released a notice that they are building right now 150,000 gallon tanks down there which is going to be taking in toxic water waste. So that was pretty shocking to learn that.
Yeah, I think people are going to be shocked at how. I don't believe this is myself. I don't believe it's ever going to be cleaned up. I don't think they can get all the chemicals out of the land.
Yeah, because in the New Jersey one in 2012, we were just doing some research on that, and those people had only 23,000 gallons of vinyl chloride spilled, and many people suffered, and a lot of people developed, health issues years later. We're talking, was it 6 million pounds or something like that? But the amount of vinyl chloride that was in those tankers. And
well, I do know before they burned, and the reason I'm looking at my phone, I'm not being rude. I wanted to show you something. Before they burned, they did the explosion on those tankers. Two of the 5 vinyl chloride tankers had already emptied half their contents. Those are 35,000 gallon tankers. So half of 2 of them is a full tanker, which is 35,000 gallons. We know that 35,000 gallons of vinyl chloride went into our land, our sewer drains, our creeks and streams, under our buildings. And then that is not including the benzene and I believe it was 60,000 gallons of lube oil and whatever other chemicals were on that train.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of chemicals on there.
A lot.
And we're a small town. This is a very small town.
And our town is unique because it's built on waterways. So whereas if you were just all solid ground, you might be able to contain it easier. But once it gets into the waterways, it's going everywhere.
So I assume you are aware. Are you aware that the streams run under the buildings in our town? Are you aware of that in homes?
Yes, I've been reporting on that. Oh my gosh.
Have you seen this? Since Tammy was talking about how she gets a sore throat, and some people, when they go into town, they don't. The EPA is handing this out at their meetings. I don't know if you can see that. This is Dusty,
Yes.
the asthma, the goldfish, and about asthma triggers for children. It's a coloring book, and they're talking about inside. They talk about what triggers asthma or sore throats, and I didn't really see any vinyl chloride listed in there or any butyl acrylate or acrolein. So they missed those, but
because there's been a few children that have been hospitalized just this past week with breathing respiratory issues like asthma-like. So,
oh my gosh! So they're like making it fun. Come on, guys! It's a coloring book, so it's not that scary.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to direct yourself away from thinking that the asthma is caused by anything other than the issues they list. That's not the chemicals in town creating your asthma condition.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So now they're discovering even more and more chemicals. And with that being said, even the people who have taken the $700 test for vinyl chloride, that's only giving them one toxin. So are people working on creating tests for other things?
we do have there's an organization coming into town from San Diego. There is a medical doctor. They're going to be doing, as far as I know, free testing, and they're going to do a study on people, which is frightening when you think about it. A study, you follow people as they go along.
Yeah.
What really should happen here is those that want to stay, that's awesome. Those that want to leave, Norfolk Southern needs to buy them out.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to pay for everything that it takes to move them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So there's, there is someone coming into town, an organization.
And
but at this point, no. The answer to your question is no.
We don't even know all of the chemical creations that came from that burn off. So how do you know everything to test for it as well?
Right.
There's not much transparency there.
Sure. And is there anything people who test positive for vinyl chloride can do then to ease any symptoms or help, even lessen the amount in their system?
So there's no, you can do certain detox things, procedures. There is no real answer. There's nothing going to go and grab it out of you. The body can take care of it over time. If there is any kind of cellular damage done, you're not going to see that for years. The only true answer is to get out of the environment that is exposing you, so that your body can clear it.
And I do want to talk about that because, wow, you guys had me in tears because you gave a wonderful, beautiful person the first $10,000 to get her a new place. And if you guys didn't see it, when Marianne Williamson came, she spoke with this woman, and she just, touched everyone's heart. I mean, she is just a warrior. And so you guys raised money, and you're raising money to help get people out of East Palestine. So can you share why you started that, how people can help, how you chose her as the first one?
Well, we started it because we started it a few months after the derailment, because we thought that it was a condition that it was chronic. The town was a chronic condition, and people needed to get away. And we know that donations were coming in to our town, and the money was being spent on beautifying the park. And now it's buying park benches. $300,000 were spent on to dig up the soil, plant new grass, and do other things in the park for an Easter egg hunt, which is 300 yards from the contaminated creek. So it infuriates you to see that the funds aren't going to help the people that are sick and that are in need, and that we know that need to leave. So that's why that was created. And we wanted full transparency so that everybody knows where those dollars are going. And so we announced, we put up a little progress report on our Facebook page, East Palestine Off the Rails. If anybody wants to join us there to get the truth of what's really happening here, you can. And we were fortunate enough to finally hit that first mark and be able to give Connie the check for $10,000. And it was wonderful. And that's our GoFundMe and GiveSendGo are both at the same place, East Palestine Off the Rails, either site you can go to and donate. And no donation is too small. We appreciate anything. We're just going to keep chipping away and try to help as many people as possible, because our government's not helping. The railroad is only helping it's a lot of PR and making everything seem like everything is wonderful. And they're paying, like the Norfolk Southern is putting money to pay for all the amusement rides and the games so that people can come to the fair. But it's really not solving the problem at hand, which is the chronic exposure to the chemicals. Yeah.
Right.
Also about that. Good.
That, I've said this several times, but I want to remind my viewers, please research who you're giving money to. I fully trust Tammy and Rick, and they are transparent and they are doing amazing work. Some of the others I do not trust, and I've heard bad things, that are shady things that are happening. So please just make sure you look into this. They're transparent. They are giving you a breakdown of what this money is going towards. If they don't go on their, sites for a month and then they pop back up looking for money, things like that, please just look into it, because you're donating out of kindness. And that should go to what they're saying is going to go towards.
We're also doing a water donation drive, and we're going to have our first giving the water away this weekend. And if you want to donate one case, you want to donate a pallet, please contact me at eastpalestinetammy@gmail.com, and I can give you all the information as far as where to send it. But yes, we're going to need water for a very long time, not just for East Palestine, these surrounding communities where people are on a well water system. It's very important. Yeah. And you were going to say something.
Oh yeah. So about that fund, East Palestine initially when after this happened, and continues to still probably, well, I know it's in the hundreds of thousands, if not, if you add it up, it's a couple million that has been brought here. I don't know of one resident that really has gotten anything directly of that money. People are asking where the money is going. So we had a tough decision. I set a lofty goal, which in my mind, I thought, I always say go big or go home. So initially we did start the fund after it was, the sexiness wore off, because it was a few months after a lot of the media was gone. But I wanted to collect $5 million to give 500 families $10,000 each, so that maybe they could pay the first and last month rent and plan 6 months to a year ahead to get out of here, of the people that really want to leave. So as it was tough going at first, as we started the ball rolling to collect, we had a tough decision. Do we spend this 10,000 and just get people water purifiers? But the problem is that's putting a Band-Aid on a severe injury. So being a doctor, giving somebody an air or a water purifier doesn't do a whole lot against these chemicals. So we wanted to stick to our plan, and when we hit our first 10,000, we chose Connie because of the story that she had a relapse with her condition, and there's no way to prove that it is from the chemicals, but she was one of the people that tested positive for vinyl chloride metabolites. And those are nasty chemicals in your body that can enhance what you are already dealing with. So we just thought it was the right thing to do to choose Connie for the first recipient.
And if you tell them about your YouTube channel where you can watch the video of.
Oh, if anybody wants to see my creek videos, I started filming in the creeks a week and a half after the derailment. And then there's videos of just interviews of people and me spouting off about the situation here. It's my last name with a P-O-D, almost like an iPod. I made it years ago. It's just Tsai Pod. Tsai-Pod is my channel on YouTube.
And you could see Connie's receive the check there.
Oh man, grab your tissues. She is a warrior. She's amazing. And, I definitely encourage you guys to subscribe. I love your videos, even your shorts. They're amazing. And we need to really start looking more at people who are actually in the area, instead of, people are like bringing people on podcasts who don't even live in Ohio or Pennsylvania. And we need to start listening more to the actual residents. That's so important. On the topic of moving and homes, what are your thoughts about this so-called compensation by Norfolk Southern? If you sell your house, they will give you like a partial payment up to a year later. And they upped it from 1 mile to 5 miles, which is very interesting. But what's your thought when you first, read that article or heard about that?
So I think as long as you are not signing any rights away to sue further, when I say sue, I hate to say that, but a terrible thing has happened here. But so they're saying that if you want to leave and you sell your home, whatever it was worth just before the derailment, if you have to sell it for less than appraised value, pre-derailment value, they will make up the difference and give you your pre-derailment value. Now, there's a couple concerns I have. Number one, who is determining that pre-derailment value? Exactly. Who's that going to be? Mm-hmm. Secondly, when you go to, we were, this wasn't unexpected for people. There are a lot more expenses in moving than just what your home costs. And when your family is uprooted, I do believe that they should have to give them some type of moving fees as well. And then lastly, a lot of the homes here, people do live here. It's been brought up because it is so affordable here. It's going to be very hard for a family to find a similar home in outside of this area for the same price. So on one hand, if they're giving you your home value what it was prior, that's a good thing. It's a horrible thing that it's uprooted people. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. But I honestly didn't even think they were going to do that. So we're going to see if they stick to their word as well.
I think that is an excellent point, that I hope these people don't sign something saying you agree you can no longer pursue any kind of action. That's a really great point. And I don't want this to come across insensitive. I really want to know, do you think that people are going to be looking to buy houses in that area?
I wouldn't myself, so I can't judge.
Yeah.
I do know some homes have sold. I have a patient that sold her home after the derailment. She took a big hit, but she didn't want to stay. So she did lose value. She said that she contacted Norfolk Southern after reading that article, and they said, no, we're not doing that. We're not compensating people for their home. Now, the problem is there's so much inconsistency with what we hear. Yeah. It depends who you talk to at Norfolk Southern. It always seems like it's a different story. So, but I do believe, since I think Ted Cruz there was an article where that he was in the article about Norfolk Southern, was saying that they were going to, and actually Alan Shaw, the CEO, was in that article saying that they were going to do it. I think they'd have a very hard time backing out of what they said now. Yeah. So I do believe they're going to do that. But you're going to take a hit at this point. So whether they honor that and make up your home value, then that remains to be seen.
Yeah, and it just adds more stress. When I think about it, I'm like, okay, that's one more hoop I have to jump through to prove and get this done, and then take it to them, and then try to get, what do we have to do to get that? And just the whole thought of moving itself after you live somewhere for, you're 30 years.
But to answer your question, yeah. I don't. Neither of us would buy a home here.
Oh, yeah.
But to answer your question,
well, I was just piggyback off of that.
Yeah.
One of the things that Jamie, I'm sure you know who Jamie is, it's a small town, but one of the things she revealed to me for the first time Tuesday night was that the mayor decided to call her Tuesday before the town hall and tell her that the text messages that leaked were not about her. Don't get me started. I went off on Monday's show and just lost it, because she's an amazing person, and that is just disgusting. He started saying it wasn't about her and it was clipped together, and just lied to her on Tuesday, coincidentally before the town hall. What is your response to the way that mayor is doing things like that to skirt responsibility?
So I'm not very political at all, but I will say, so I've lived here 30 years. I grew up the town, there's Negley, and then I grew up in the town next to it, South Beaver. So I've been part of this whole area my entire life. I don't even know the mayor personally. I didn't know he was our mayor. The fire chief was a patient of mine many years ago, and I still treat his extended family members. But I didn't even know he was the fire chief. That's how. As for the mayor, if the texts are correct and they stand as they are, then of course that's what he meant. And just stand up to it and say, hey, I apologize. I shouldn't have said that. I said it in the heat of the moment or whatever. But I'm coming out, maybe this might be controversial. I'll just tell you what I think. I don't even know the mayor, but I will say, of the many missteps that I have seen here from Norfolk Southern, with the aerators in the park, with no cyclone fences around them, spewing deadly chemicals from one form of liquid into the air, just putting them into the air while kids are playing in that park, while kids can play around the the aerators, and nothing is done. If I were mayor, which I would never be, I'm not political, I don't want to do anything like that, I would have held a press conference right by those aerators, and I would have mouthed off to every press saying, fix this, put deadly chemical signs here, put something around here, close the park. I don't know. That's just what I would do. And there's a lot more that as somebody that is responsible for, I did see where he made the comment that in the one meeting where he was saying, essentially, I don't want to rock the boat because the town is getting everything it needs. And if I rock the boat, the Norfolk Southern may stop funding. Well, the EPA, who cares about funding the town to beautify the park or whatever it may be? The EPA said that they were forcing, and I don't believe a lot the EPA says, but the EPA said they were going to force Norfolk Southern to clean up the site or charge them triple the amount it would cost if they didn't clean it up correctly. So that's a whole, the EPA, the government was supposedly forcing them. The funding that the mayor was talking about, I'm not quite sure, probably maybe for the fire engines and the beautifying the park and other projects. What he forgot was, I believe that the people and the residents of this town are part of the town. So with his quote, right at this moment, the town is getting everything that it needs. And he did say, but I know you still all have problems, but we are the town, or the residents are one entity. I just wish he wasn't so silent about and the people that are ill or that have gotten ill. So that was my take on the
Yeah, I mean, not only your job is to keep the community going, financially, but you need to protect your citizens as someone in power. I mean, that should be your number one priority. Now,
the only wild card here is it's a little town. I don't know the mayor. He's apparently working hard. I don't know. We all handle stress differently and responsibilities. So,
yeah.
So that's all
I think the bare minimum he could do is say, get your shit together. Bare minimum, whether he's busy or whatever. He's been kind of worthless at this point as far as things I've seen. And it sucks to see people in that position of power and not talk to the actual residents and get their opinions on what needs to be done and actually use that to, actually talk about that and hold press conferences and things like that.
That would be helpful. It would be helpful to have like a press conference for the town every week, just with updates. Yeah. And we didn't have a lot of that. Well, actually, we had a couple of town halls, and people got angry because the townspeople were angry and trying to get attention to how serious they were suffering and what they were going through. And yeah, it's just a sad situation when your people in town, when you've got at least half of the town suffering from, illnesses that are caused by this. And then a lot of people aren't. But you need to listen to both people.
I guess for me, it'd be refreshing if some of our leaders got as angry as I did when I heard the burn pit wasn't even touched. It was covered with gravel for 100 days. I think I would be right on all our local. I would call the national news and hold a press conference. I'd be a little miffed about the whole thing, but that's just me. So
that's how I was last week. I was so upset that I couldn't find a case of water in town. So I called every news organization possible to see if we can get on and ask for some help from people in this country. And fortunately, we did.
Yeah, there are residents still bathing once a week. They'll go to a hotel to bathe. They're drinking and cooking in bottled water. Listen, I assume the municipal water is safe. I assume that would I drink it? That's me. No, I wouldn't drink it. I don't want to be told they missed something 3 years from now. They missed a chemical
Exactly.
And it has happened before.
Yes.
So not here. I'm just saying it has happened before in history. Um, but it's presumably safe. But we are on wells, and there are people, and we have tried to cook pasta with bottled water. You know, it goes quick.
True.
The water goes fast.
It does.
Now, we personally, we are showering in it because it's. I mean, how are you going to bathe with bottled water? But
Right.
there are many residents that they bathe twice a week only, and they, or I was talking to a resident, like I said, that goes once a week to a hotel to take her shower and bath.
Wow. If you could leave one, if you each could leave something with the audience to take away from this interview and just to use it to think of East Palestine, what do you want them to take away from this? Tammy, do you want to go first?
You have to do the work to find out the truth. It's going to take a lot of effort, but you have to dig and dig and dig and find the truth to protect yourself, because your government is not going to do that for you. So if something like this happens in your town, you need to take action immediately. And the more action you take, then you're confronting these organizations that are supposed to be responsible with truth. And that is the only way they're going to fix things that you bring the attention to, because otherwise it'll just go under the rug. So, and band together as a whole, because this happens to everyone. And if you have folks in town telling you that there's poison, and you have experts outside of your government telling you, you need to take a look into this, stick together and try to find the answers and find the truth. It'll be much better for everyone in the long run.
Definitely.
And
Rick?
So I would say that for those of you who've been watching and you see these people and you see them in this predicament and suffering, and you have empathy for them, you may or may not know that this is largely a Republican area, this town. People, I love all walks of life. I treat all walks of life. We're not like, people aren't so different. I mean, everybody's really the same. We want the same things. And I just want to say that, what do I want to say? I want to say that we have more in common than we do have different. And a lot of the things that we all want, like you talk about your health care, and that we want similar things, and we want to be safe. And when you see in front of your eyes, you'll see national news about how maybe the EPA does this or doesn't do that, and there's maybe corruption places. But boy, when you see it right in front of your eyes in your own town, you realize that, probably a lot of us are just being played on all sides, and manipulated. And that the common people like us, we really should, I guess, make sure that, we love each other a little bit more.
Absolutely. Well, I really hope you guys can make it out July 22nd. I'd love to meet you in person. You guys are doing incredible work.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah, you're fantastic, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
And
we will do our best.
Weekend? Is that on a weekend?
It's on a Saturday.
Okay, we'll stop by.
Awesome. Yes, we are definitely doing our best I was just telling Tammy, we're going to be running a big old SUV to bring as many cases of water. And we're also trying to raise money to hopefully do some other things as well. But I cannot wait to go and to meet all of the wonderful people. And again, everybody, please sign up to Shy Pod. And go to Off the Rails if you can. I mean, a lot of places you can get a case of water for $5-6. If that's all you have, please give that, and you will be helping a family by doing that.
Just one person sends one case, and we have hundreds or thousands of cases. That would be great.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you again both so much. And thank you for all the work you've been doing.
And thank you for having us.
Thanks, Joy.
Absolutely. Take care.
It's gotta unload. You go to unload.